Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 5 of Building Castle Leslie, or should I say part 5. I've done some work in between episodes here. Like I said, I was going to at the end of the last episode. So I got our final 2.5 buildings in. So now all the actual buildings of this place have been completed. I have also started working on a bit of the detailing and a bit of the interiors, so let me kind of show you. Number one thing, I said last time I was unhappy with some of these smaller houses, not houses, buildings. So I changed this one here and also these two, and I'm a bit happier with them because they kind of follow the lines of the build a bit better than they were. I also added some toilets here. Another one, where's this? There's another one here. And I'm using this effect, which I don't even remember what the inspiration for this is. I think it might have been an old B-Dubs build, B-double-O. But I started doing this on Castle Cargyle, just to show like water staining and stuff. And I think it's kind of I don't know, it's a bit of a silly effect, but it also does add realism and a bit of color and variation to the walls. So there's also a toilet here. I filled in this building last time, and I've also added a couple of these little things. I like this one more than that one. I might end up deleting that. I don't know. I also finished this building here. So there is now a little bridge here, and I'll take you inside of there in just a moment. We have completed this tower with the adjoining building. Last episode I said I was only going to reserve the light gray powder concrete for the main structure, but I ended up transplanting it into this and this, because they're just also really big canvases, and when you get to this scale, you really need the gradient to work more than anything, as opposed to like here where you have all the diagonals to kind of break up the gradient. So I finished this, this is kind of dubious. Okay, so there's a build, I don't remember what it was, but somebody made like a post-apocalyptic kind of cyberpunky build, and they had these kind of like rickety wooden walkways around a really big building, and it's an aesthetic I like, so I decided to add that here. Is it a bit silly? Yes. Does it kind of at the same time fit with what we were doing here? Yes. I don't think it's too out of the style of this place. I might change it if you guys tell me in the comments you're not a fan of it, and you have like a better idea for detailing the upper portions of this place. I'll look into those, or like I'll entertain those ideas. But I went for the dark oak as opposed to spruce, like over there, because I wanted it to stand out like almost black on white against the background. Goodness, what else? Okay, so I added a doorway here, and I built out this place, so I added a doorway here and here. It's going to be a two-story building, but I'm not quite sure. I've been struggling with the floors. I don't know. That's kind of why I started this video, because I wanted to figure out what I want to do with that. And I did the floor in here and kind of in there, but I might change that one out. One of the things I'm realizing with a build this big is that I usually go for a pretty reserved color palette. So if you look at Clarendon, which is the last build I did, I'm trying to stick to, like a dozen blocks, whereas this build, because of the scale, just has to have so much more in it. While trying to keep the cohesive style, you're also trying to make things interesting, because like if this building and that building and that one and that one and that one are all the same on the inside, it's gonna be boring for me to decorate. It's gonna be boring for you guys when you do download the world, And it's just going to be kind of like a boring, repetitive build, and I don't want that at all. So I am trying to have some different stuff, which means I'm trying to expand the block palette that I initially showed off in part 1 of the series. I also wanted to call attention to this roof. I struggled for like 20 minutes before figuring out what I wanted to do with this, so it essentially turns into like this big spire using a lot of walls instead of stair blocks, really, except for down at this layer. And we're using the same repeated pattern as this roof here, here, and on those towers, and that bit. So let me show you the inside, or what we have right now. I put a black concrete thing here just because it looks better than staring at the weird inside. And let me give myself night vision real quick. Okay, so now we can see. This is probably going to get broken up into some smaller interiors, I think, because I want to have a stairway, obviously, to get to the upper levels, but my towers are so small that if I want to use these to get up to the upper levels, it's going to be a ladder. And since this is supposed to be like the house of a king or a duke, like somebody who's pretty high up in the nobility, that's kind of stupid. Like, most people don't want to climb a ladder every day of their life. So I was thinking I might, I don't know, break this up into some smaller rooms. This part I've already worked out. So I said previously that I wanted to do a ballroom, and that's basically what this is. It's like a big gallery with white walls and these kind of really tall windows. I think a pretty but simple roof, so it has color and interest, but it doesn't detract from the room itself. We have a basic floor here. I was going to do kind of like a checkerboard, but I like the way that this turned out. And this is based off of the ideal of like a Viennese ballroom that's more like 18th, 17th century. But, you know, castles evolve, and we can just, like, this is supposed to be a later addition to the earlier building there. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm explaining that. Up here, I would like to, I don't know, this is supposed to be for like a music player. So I'm hoping I might be able to fit an instrument up here in some way. If not, maybe just a couple of chairs for a band. And this is kind of a weird place because I want to put up a painting or a couple paintings, because 1.21 is giving us a lot of new paintings to work with, and really big ones. Like, there's almost no small paintings. Like, those are very much like big gallery paintings. So I'd love to put up a couple of those, but obviously I can't do that, which is also my issue with the floors, because we're going to get a bunch of tough variants, and the tough variants could look cool. There's like chiseled tough and tileable tough and tough bricks and all that stuff, but I can't work with it, which is frustrating because I don't know. So the reason I haven't switched over to the snapshots yet is because I'm hoping that Optifine for 1.20.5 will come out kind of soon, and then I can show off this build with shaders when I'm done with it. Because I do prefer the way that things look with shaders overall. I don't like to play with shaders that much because I find it's a bit distracting, especially for like the building process. But I think it's look cool with shaders, especially for showing them off on YouTube. So I don't know, I'm kind of torn. I guess it kind of depends how quickly Optifine comes out, or I might try to do different shaders. And I also worked on this room here. It's a really weird space. Sorry, I keep getting screen tearing. If you guys know what that is, weird visual bug. I hope that's not coming across on YouTube. But I essentially copied this room's palette and I transplanted it over there, but I'm not happy with it. Like, it's a weird shape and it's a weird palette, and I can't really make the room taller because it's only supposed to be like one floor. I don't know. I was considering making this some kind of like temple-y religious thing, but I have to figure out the color palette, and I tried to use dark prismarine in here, but it just looked weird. I was doing something like that. I don't know, I didn't really like the way that it looked and found that it fit with the rest of the build. What I would really like would be something that's like roughly this color, like a really good red, but tiles. Red tiles would look great in parts of this build, I think, but we can't really get tiles that are more than like this kind of shade of pinky. So I think I'm gonna cut here. I'm gonna try and figure out that room. I think that's my goal for this clip. And then I'm gonna come back to you once I have that a bit more figured out. Okay guys, so I have something figured out. I worked on the ground floor of this building, and I figured out mostly what I want to do here, including adding a window to the outside. So let me explain the changes that we've made. In here, I think we're gonna go for a green floor. I think the floor here is gonna change, because what I'm thinking is this is gonna be our dining room. So you come in here, there's gonna be like a little like feast hall. Boom, like nice big open, like really royal looking chamber here. Gonna have a small bathroom. I don't usually do indoor plumbing bathrooms, but I think it makes more sense than having nothing here. And then here we're gonna have a staircase that goes up. Alright guys, so sorry for how that last clip ended rather abruptly. I'm gonna come into here, and I think I'm gonna change the floor of this one, and I'm gonna change this out because, like I said, I think I want to make this a kitchen. I think this would look really good as like a food prep area, and then that would be like conveniently here. Typically, I would do my kitchens in the basement, and I might still put something in the basement, but the thing is, putting a basement into here means that this would have a place where it goes down, and I don't really want that. I feel like it would look bizarre. Not bizarre. It's really hard to line up the floors when you do a spiral staircase, and I've had issues with it in the past. So to simplify my life, I don't want to put a staircase there. I might put one down here actually. So I might do another spiral staircase, and then that could go under here. And then we could do maybe like some cellars. I think cellars could look cool. Maybe we link up like down here with underneath there, and underneath there, and it could be like a whole thing. Or I might just keep it simple because I don't want to overpromise like the amount of underground stuff that's going to be in this build, because I have a lot of overground to fill, and it's already going to be a big task, so I'm unsure about that. It could go either way, but there's definitely going to be a little bit of using that bottom half of that building. Okay guys, so this isn't the final clip. I just want to show you briefly why I don't build on camera. So I just tried to well, I got rid of this floor. I tried out clay. So I tried out clay as a possible option. I also tried out polished deep slate as an option. I tried out smooth stone as an option, and I'm now trying out kelp as an option. And this has just been like 10 minutes of me going through and changing the floor like block by block and saying, oh, this does not fit. Okay. I've also changed this to be slightly different. I'm not sure about it. I don't know. I kind of like the way that it looks, but I'm also kind of on the fence. I feel like it might look better once I put in a dining set. I'm not sure what color the furniture in here will be, but I figure maybe it'll look better once we have something in here kind of covering up most of this accented floor. Hold on. I'm just trying to do this for show purposes. Maybe when we have something like this, it'll look better, but then that just looks weird because it's... I don't know. Maybe this just needs to be these small tiles everywhere. This is a problem. It's so much back and forth because now I don't like this. It's too samey. These are really small tiles in the Prismarine. And I like that, but it's... If they were bigger tiles, if they were like a full block, I think it might look different. It might look different. It might look better, possibly. But just to have them like this, it's kind of iffy. So I don't know. I'll try to figure it out, and then I'll come back with our final clip of the day. Okay, briefly, one last thing. I swear, one last thing before we get to our final clip, because I reverted this. Blackstone isn't black, and that annoys me so much. There's like no black in this texture almost. Like there's a couple of dark purple bits right there, but it's mostly just light purple. Like it really isn't black. We have here like a light lilac-y color. That's basically, if you look at that's this. That's almost literally that color. We have a slightly darker grayer purple, and then this darker purple, and then this stuff that's like technically black but not really black because it's purple tinged, and you can't use it for a room like this. Like you just can't, because none of these other blocks have purple in them, so it just looks insane. Like it doesn't work at all. It clashes way too much. I was trying to use Chisel Deep Slate, and I don't know, I might, because Chisel Deep Slate matches up with a lot of the kind of dark browny bits of this. But it also has faces in it, and I'm kind of just going insane. Okay guys, actual final clip here. No, that's normal. I have finished this room, so I decided to go for polished granite with a little bit of regular granite in here. And I changed the roof to be this, which is supposed to be like stucco or like white plaster. The real issue is that every time there's a corner, or especially like a three-way corner like this, you get dark shadows, and it kind of makes everything that should look smooth and white look dark and weird and jagged. And that's just kind of what's going to happen when you build on diagonals. There's nothing I can do about that. I do think I prefer this to the pure dark oak before. Previously, I was trying to go for like the roof is dark, so it makes the space feel like you're supposed to be looking elsewhere, like say at the floor or whatever, but then the floor was dark. It just turned into a whole thing. We learned a lot about colors today. Here's an interesting thing though, and it's something that I do want to mention. So here we have granite and polished granite, and that's like floor tiles. And here we have granite and polished granite, and these are roof tiles. And it's something that I typically try to avoid in my builds, because I usually try to build, I don't know if there's a better word for this, but with diegetic materials. So let me explain, right? if you use something one way in a build, you can't really use it another way typically, especially not like close by, because it just is like visually confusing. Like it kind of harms the understanding of what you're looking at for people who are viewing your builds for like the first time. So it's something that I do try to avoid. It's another issue I have because those floor tiles and roof tiles are also here, and here they are construction materials in this little kind of pyramidal guard house. So that's kind of another like barrel of worms, and that's something that I do try to avoid. I'm not like that upset about it now. The other thing is you kind of have to ask, if I'm building like here, I try to build with mostly stone blocks because to me visually it kind of makes sense. Like you see it and you're like, yeah. If you look at a build up close, you can look at it and say it looks like stone. The issue with using something like wool as your in your gradient is that when you look up to it up close, it looks like wool. So that's kind of why I didn't want to use the light gray concrete powder. And this build is kind of weird because the gradient is kind of diegetic. So there are spots like, hold on. In a spot like this, it's clear that the gradient is here because there's like layers of more like big blocks of basic stone. You have a bit more refined stones, and then here you have the newer layers, and this is like either a paler stone or some kind of like plastered stone, like whitewashed. That kind of makes sense. That makes it seem like it's like in worlds, like they know that there is like a gradient here. But then you look at this, and this is supposed to be a way older building, where they're building with mostly darker stones, because this is like way older. And it kind of doesn't make sense here because it implies that, oh, they actually had like the white stones all along. Like it's not a later addition, they just had that level. So parts of the gradient of this build are diegetic and parts of them kind of just are not. And I don't know. Like this is it's not a criticism that most people are gonna like levy against me. This isn't something I'm gonna be like, oh, when I post this to Planet Minecraft, everyone's gonna hate that I have non-diegetic gradients in my builds. It's just the kind of things that I think of when I'm building, and it's some of the things that you might want to keep in mind when you're doing your own builds. Do the people know that there's a gradient? Like, do the people who are building your world, are they aware of these materials? One last note before we go, I did revert this back to this, and it's probably going to be different when you tune in for episode 6. But this is already turning into a pretty long episode, so that's going to do it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I went through more of my process than I typically do, because I do want to show my process a lot over the course of this build. And I hope you join us for episode 6, when we get to, geez, I don't know what we're gonna get to. I don't want to do the interiors on this, but I think what I'll probably do is figure out the floors of this main building, and then I don't know, start working out the color palette. I've already kind of decided that I want a dark floor, because if the top of this build is light, then the floor of this area has to be like pretty dark, just visually. Otherwise it's going to look really weird. So I'm going to try and figure out a bit more of that, and I'll see you guys next time. So yeah, see ya.